Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hazni wal-huzn. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from depression and sadness. A lot of people do not understand depression, and obviously most of the things that Western Muslims, non-Arabic speaking Muslims, or Muslims who are not educated in Islam, they do not know a lot about depression, anxiety, mental issues, mental health problems, other than what Western healthcare or Western philosophy or Western psychology has told them. So I want to just break it down very simple for a believer, man or woman, to understand the concept of mental health in Islam. Now, of course, we find throughout the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where the pen is lifted from one of the categories, majnoon, the person who is not able to control themselves, whose mind is not, they have some mental health issues where they're not responsible for the actions. Why? Well, because for a Muslim to be responsible in the Sharia, he or she has to know and has to be sane. You find in the books of fiqh that one of the criteria to do something is, for example, has to be this, sane, okay? So fulfill certain criteria, right? So sanity is one of those. So when sanity is lost in Islam, Sharia does not punish a person who is not sane, who is majnoon, who is, even let's say that is a temporary thing. Someone is not in control of their mind. Something happens just temporary, and that can be proven, and that person is not necessarily responsible for their actions in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There might be some, obviously, depending on the discretion of the judge, certain things that will happen depending on the crime, right? It's not like, that's it, right? Live hands off. But it might happen that the person just basically walks away. And, this is something that's been there in the Sharia for a long time, and something that is very important to understand. But that's not what I'm going to focus on. What I want to focus on is on those people who have sanity. They understand what's going on. They're not like, they're not in charge of their thoughts, or they're not in charge of their actions, or they basically can't control themselves. No, these people know what's going on. They actually know that they're depressed. They know that they're sad, they're sorry, they have mental health issues specifically linked to depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, and others. And if you look at the Shaitan is, you can say, an expert in psychology, human psychology. And you find that his waswasa الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس. And sudur, of course, here we're talking about the chest of people, but specifically the heart, which is a center of emotion and emotional intelligence, and is connected to the brain, no doubt. Over and over again, science and different researchers have shown the connection between the brain and the heart, and how emotions are influenced by thoughts, and how thoughts influence emotions and vice versa. Sometimes certain emotion can influence a thought. It's a very complicated mechanism, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that and connects the heart to the mind in different ayat. Sometimes Allah will say, do they not have hearts that they think, right? And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes appeal to the mind in many ayat when it comes to understanding and reasoning the observations around the world that indicate that Allah exists, that this is the true faith. So there's so much, and it's been written in the books, the scholars, and I think we need a little bit more emphasis on that when it comes to modern day scholarship. But to go to the main point, and that is the mind and mental health. And what's the link between Shaitan and that? So Shaitan does waswasa. What's the point of this waswasa? The point of the waswasa is to lead astray, so that the sons and daughters of Adam can be led astray. It's a promise that he has made. And because the mind is so powerful, right? This is the element that we use to reach revelation, to understand, to make fiqh with. The mind is so important. The mind can change and alter our state of health, even our body language, our disposition, the way we feel throughout the day, depending on the thoughts, depending on the input that comes and is processed in our central processing unit. So the Shaitan knows that, and he comes with these, and that's what waswasa are. They're basically inputs. Waswasa are inputs that cause a person to think differently, to come up, to induce certain emotions, certain thoughts, and based on that, the body starts reacting. So because Shaitan knows how powerful this mind is, that's where he attacks. Because he knows once he has subjugated your mind, then the body is just next, right? The body just follows. And for all of you who have had, just different thoughts, something happened, and it's coming from external stimuli, right? Someone might have passed away, which is external. Someone might have said something to you, which is external. Someone might have cursed you or cussed you or had a fight with you, a loved one. You might have lost your job, COVID-19, lockdown. So many different external stimuli that are coming in, are being processed by your brain. What should I do? What's next step? What about this? And of course, a fear, which is false education that appears real. You've seen different things. You've seen before movies as to what happens under a pandemic or a drought or a crisis. So you right away connect that to your situation, and that causes anxiety right away, because you say, this is what's going to happen to me, what I've seen before. So now there's this interesting feedback mechanism. So your thoughts are influencing your emotions and the way you feel, which is influencing your body, the way you react, the way you behave, and then that feeds back into your mental health, and it keeps pushing. And now the thoughts are affected again by the way you feel, and then it again feeds back into the way your body reacts, and it just keeps on going and going and going. Again, what did Shaitan do? And we know very well from many hadith and ayat, that he just inputs and withdraws, right? Alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas. He just whispers and he pulls out. And subhanAllah, this whisper, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna kayda shaytana kana da'if. That the plan of Shaitan, al-ayah, the plan of Shaitan is weak actually. So this input, this stimuli is weak. Like someone insulting you, that's another stimuli, verbal stimuli. Someone fighting with you, disagreeing with you. I mean, these things, if you actually analyze them with reason and rationale, you find that they're not that, it's not like someone punched you in the face or something, right? Or someone grabbed you by the neck. These are just whispers. But look how powerful they are. Someone said that the thoughts are basically equal to what oxygen does to metal, right? Oxidation, right? How it rusts it, right? Because it just rusts your mind, it rusts your heart, it rusts your soul. You keep thinking, till it just, you start losing weight, your skin tone changes, your demeanor, your productivity, your attitude, the way you talk to people. You don't even feel like praying anymore. Your khushu, everything is affected. But see, it takes time. The Shaitan is very smart, because again, he throws in the impulse, he withdraws, and then he lets you work on it. And basically, he plants this idea. Right back in the days, right, there was that. Again, I'm not encouraging people, but there was, it's called inception. Even it's a concept in human psychology theory. Okay, and it links to dreams, but it's about the thought. A thought is a seed, and it's such a dangerous thing because the wrong thought being implanted in the mind of a human being can grow so fast and develop into a belief. There's a difference between a thought and a belief. So this thought can manifest in a belief, and that's why you find people who have beliefs in certain things, they become so extremist, and they're willing to, even though when you analyze that issue, you find that it's not even, there's no evidence for that, right? There's no proof, there's no evidence, yet people are willing to kill for it, right? Because it's been implanted so deep in their mind, and they believed it so much that now they're willing to do anything for it. So it's very dangerous. The Shaitan is an expert in that, and it's the most dangerous thing because the mind is just so powerful. And that's why in my Muslim Alpha Man videos, I always try to attend to the mind and to talk about motivation, that intrinsic motivation, that you push yourself, that you talk to yourself, that internal talk that Umar Khattab, for example, used to do. You talk to your nafs and you push yourself in the morning to wake up and to be productive, to pray, to wake up for Qiyam, to wake up for Fajr, right? This is that. So you start conditioning your mind and controlling your emotions, right? And again, that's based on knowledge, right? Because it's coming from knowledge, it's coming from you knowing what Islam is, and you knowing that you have to do this, that you have a choice, that you have to be in control of your decisions and actions, right? And then you're going to be accountable for them if not. So it is a huge and important task that you have to understand when it comes to mental health, depression, sorrow, and so on. And that's what the Prophet, again, he used to seek refuge in sorrow and depression, right? He used to say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min hazni wal hazn wa min al-ajzi wal kasal wa min al-jubni wal bukhl wa min ghalabati ad-dayn wa qahri al-rijal. We should learn this hadith, this dua, because it's such a great thing to say and to protect yourself. But please understand the concept of mental health and the difference between someone having no control and not knowing what they're doing, being majnoon, losing sanity, and someone who is sane but has these feelings, these emotions, not being able to sleep, dreams, all kinds of feelings that are mixed, depression, not wanting to go out, not wanting to talk to people, wanting to be alone, not wanting to live, which leads to suicide, right? We know what happens to the suicidal person and how much suicide is increased. Again, that's one of the objectives of Shaitan. He wants you to commit kufr. I mean, sins that could lead you to hell, but most likely Allah will forgive you. So that's not the greatest return on investment for Shaitan. But kufr is huge for him, right? That's what he wants. And that's what a lot of people, they do say, like, I don't feel Islam anymore. I don't feel connected. I just feel depressed all the time. I want to pray, right? So he gets it, check. Or suicide, which obviously we know that the person who commits suicide is in hellfire, okay? And you're talking about, like, is in hellfire, right? Some scholars have said, like, forever. Some scholars have said forever, right? So it's not a joke. It's not a joke. But again, this is the person who has control over their sanity, but makes a certain decision willingly because of their emotions, their feelings. They cannot control the thoughts. They don't know where they're coming from. They cannot explain them. They cannot control them. So how do you control your thoughts? Again, let's give some practical solutions, inshallah. Well, it's an issue of, number one, dua. You have to have dua. Dua is, and salah, even if you don't feel like it, even if you feel like, I don't know, the worst ever, you never leave dua and salah. Number two, qiyam. Qiyamul layl. It is so difficult, but it's like you give your success. You do something that most people don't do. Number three, okay, I always recommend this: honey with habis sauda, honey with black seed. Okay, mix them. Read the Ayatul Kursi over it while you're mixing it. Eat it every day. Alright, these are the things that the Prophet said, sauda, that it cures everything except for death. And honey, this is what Allah says is shifa in it, in the Quran, the only thing other than the Quran, right? And read Quran. Read Quran yourself. Make ruqya on yourself. People think, I cannot find Raqi, or Raqi is so busy. People contact brother so-and-so and brother so-and-so. And subhanAllah, like I'm talking to, for example, brother Muhammad Tim Humble, who is one of the Raqis, right? He's a convert, mashallah, but is an expert in this, and others. They are overwhelmed. They can't do it, right? And then, of course, you have the crooks who are pretending to be Raqis, right? But they're working for Shaitan. And it's just tough, guys. It's just tough. It's not easy to, for Raqi. So, but you can make ruqya on yourself. وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاء. You can read Ayatul Kursi, Surah Al-Fatiha, from Surah Al-Baqarah on yourself with a niyyah. So make ruqya on yourself, on your family. Alright? صلاة الضحى والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى. Read this ayah, the tafsir of these ayat, and understand how important it is to pray duha, and Allah swears by it. Not just that, get out and moving. That's why Allah also swears by duha, this sunlight after the sun rises. Get out there and move. Start moving. Right? Islam is dynamic. You have to move. Move. Get out in the sunlight. You see, depressed people stay at night in the darkness. They don't like to be outside because Shaitan loves that, right? And the jinn are going to keep messing with them. All right? Have good thoughts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, and as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the hadith Qudsi, أنا عند ظن عبدي به إذا ظن بخير فله إذا ظن بشر فله أو كما قال. So I am as my servant thinks I am. So think good of Allah. Well, what's important about this? It's positive. It encourages positive thinking in general, right? And we know that that's what you need. You have to start thinking positive. You have to have positive vibes and continue moving no matter what. The feelings and the whispers are telling you stop, sleep, give up. No, your mind and your iman should say no. Work hard. Quran, ruqya, sunnah, qiyam, fajr. Wake up early. Push yourself. Okay, don't turn to drugs, don't turn to other stimulants that will make you feel bad or anything like that. Stick to these things, right? Do your 5 daily prayers, sleep a bit early, make your du'as, make your adhkar. You don't have to make, just consistently do these things, and this is inshallah a healing for you. And last but not least, have that internal talk. Umar Khattab radiallahu anhu used to say, I will show the nafs of Omar who is Omar. So have that discussion with yourself. Keep talking to yourself. That early morning waking up for Fajr, that voice tells you go back to sleep, be tired, you're tired, this and that. Have that discussion. No. Bismillah, a'udhu billah, seek refuge in Allah, Bismillah, alhamdulillah alladhi ahyana ba'da ma amatana wa ilayhi nushur. Keep the du'as up and keep having a discussion with yourself. Okay, because remember, you gotta start controlling your thoughts. Shaitan has whispered, he's convinced you that you're not good, that you should give up, that you're weak, that you're this, that you're bad, Allah will not forgive you. He's putting us so many things. He's an expert theologian, Shaitan. You have to understand that. And he's also an expert psychologist, and then he knows just all these science has been around for a long time. So what chance do you have other than to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, control that, and you have to keep going. That's the whole, istiqamah is very important. Don't think, the Prophet spent 23 years, guys. 23 years, right? In giving the message of the Quran and Islam. So people give up, very fast. Nuh alayhi salam, 950 years. Right? You can't give up. You have to keep going on. And that is promise of Allah, is that you reach it. Imagine even the prophets, and those with them, they used to say, Mata Nasrullah, when is the help of Allah coming? And Allah responded, Ala inna Nasrullah qareeb. Ala inna Nasrullahi qareeb. Indeed, the help of Allah is close. And indeed, brothers and sisters, the help of Allah is close. If you need, you can contact me. You'll see on my page, there's a link. I do counseling. If anyone needs help and support, alhamdulillah, we're starting more services like this because the ummah is complaining that they're going to non-Muslim counselors. And sadly, they might know certain things and help him in certain things, but with all that good, there's a lot of bad, right? Remember, when you go to these kahin and all these, wizards and witches and people guess in the future, what did the Prophet say? He said that they will take one truth and mix it with many lies. This is kind of what I look at when certain non-faith, non-Muslims who come from a non-belief position. That's what it is in the end, right? It's like they'll tell you certain things that are true, but then it's mixed with a lot of things that are not true. And while you might find certain solace and certain support and even healing, you'll find that your iman gets lower and lower, and then you start relying on science and human-made systems as opposed to Allah and the system based on Allah's revelation. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum.